This afternoon on the marketplace, President Akufo-Addo commissioning the 97-kilometer-long Tema Impakedan railway line this afternoon. We've got details coming up. Also coming up, International Monetary Fund Board set to meet early December to disburse $360 million to Ghana as it describes program performance as good. Plus, oil marketing firms project some significant reduction in fuel prices in the coming weeks as a result of improved product supply on the market.
We anticipate a global nosedive of flat price.
Yeah.
And that will influence, in the long run, how the pump prices will be.
My name is Darryl Kwao. Details coming up. Well, thanks for staying with us, everyone. That was your look at the currency market. We want to begin from the railway sector. President Akufo-Addo is commissioning the 97-kilometer-long Tema Impakedan railway line this afternoon. The Tema Impakedan railway line is a standard gauge railroad constructed to facilitate the movement of goods along the eastern corridor of Ghana. The line is part of a 1,000-kilometer Ghana-Burkina Faso interconnectivity project, which will connect Ouagadougou to the port in Tema. Well, joining us on Zoom to talk a bit more about this, Ephraim Asare, who is Vice President Logistics at the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Ghana. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the marketplace. How significant is this project in the rail sector for the logistics and transport industry? You're muted. All right, we are having issues connecting with Mr. Ephraim Asare. We can't hear him. I hope you can hear me. We'll sort that out and return to him, but we're currently monitoring the commissioning of the Tema Impakedan railway line happening at Tema. We'll get right back to that story. Let's turn to some other stories for you this afternoon on the marketplace. The IMF Board is set to meet in early December and approve the disbursement of $360 million to Ghana. This will be in line with Ghana passing the third review under the fund program. Director of Communications at the IMF, Julie Kozak, disclosed this at a news conference in Washington, D.C.
What I can say in addition is that program performance has been good. There has been, in particular, remarkable progress on debt restructuring. Economic growth in the first half of 2024 exceeded our expectations, exceeded our projections. Inflation has declined, and the fiscal and external positions have showed a marked improvement. Looking ahead, what will be important for Ghana will be continued implementation of the policy and reform agendas, especially given the difficult situation that many countries in the region and globally face. And it remains essential to fully restore macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability.
Marketing firms are projecting some reduction in fuel prices at the pumps in the coming weeks. This due to improved product supply on the market and recent stability experienced by the city. Dr. Opong is Chief Executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. He spoke on PM Express Business Edition.
Like I mentioned here in September, with that forecast I gave, that prices are going to go down because of that and that. I could only talk about Platt, which was the case. I can also mention that, yes, we anticipate a global nosedive of Platt price.
Yeah.
And that will influence, in the long run, how the pump prices will be. Also, as far as the cedi becomes stable or even decline, or even appreciate better against the dollar, and then we're going to have a very real impact. But like I said, my members are going to adhere to the window level given to us by the regulator. We're going to adhere to that, at the same time keeping the floor price because of reasons that were best well known to us. At the same time, I believe that things that have had their prices escalated due to all these factors will also be drawn back to help the inflation rate.
I mean, again,
because look, you see, if you take a January outlook to now, the Platt movement for petrol is negative 11.39. Diesels negative 17.25.
So the cedi was the biggest problem then, some would say.
That's what I said.
But
look at the cedi movement. It was plus 35.94. So it shoot over the bar.
So if it had not been the cedi's terrible performance earlier this year,
price
would have been dropping significantly.
Correct.
At the pumps. Right, we want to take you back to Tema, where the president is commissioning the 97-kilometer-long Tema-Impakedan railway line. Joining me is my colleague, Carlos Kaloni, following events from over there. Carlos, has the president spoken yet? What has he been saying?
Well, the president is just about to speak here. A number of officials have been speaking. Minister for Railway Development, John Peter Abelo, has just delivered his address here, as well as the chief executive officer of APCOS, the contractors who actually executed this project, and a lot of other dignitaries have been speaking. According to the minister, this particular railway line is intended to transform the country's railway sector, and according to him, it is the biggest or the largest ever railway line to be constructed in the country since independence. And he believes that this particular commissioning will open up the railway sector. He also touched on some other projects that the government intends to bring on board under the railway development sector. So he also encouraged businesses to take advantage of this railway line to, decongest the port so they can establish businesses along the line to enhance productivity for the country. Now, I want to take you closer to this particular machine you see, which is a railway line. Two of these have been procured. They call it the diesel MDU, which is supposed to carry about 200 people on board. Those who stand and have up to 100 on board, and those who sit about 150. So all put together, 200 people can be on board this particular train. And we are told that it can travel about 160 kilometers per hour, which is significant. Except that they raise concerns about the number of people, communities along the line, for which reason the train cannot move at that pace. But so this basically has been the conversation here. The president is just about to address the gathering. The Indian High Commissioner also made some comments about India's preparedness to actually support Ghana's governmental agenda, and highlighted this particular project as the single most biggest engagement between the government of Ghana and the government of India, and they are prepared to support the country going forward. So we'll keep you posted on what the president will be saying here regarding the particular commission in India. If my government we'll be speaking from, and very soon we'll take you posted on what is happening here on the ground from Senegal.
All right, Carlos Kaloni live for us at Tema, where the president will be speaking very shortly to talk about this Tema-Impakedan railway line, which is supposed to help in the transport of goods and as well as passengers along the Ghana-Burkina Faso route. Now, turning to other stories for you, the British High Commissioner to Ghana, Harriet Thompson, is calling for strong partnerships to improve the IT ecosystem across the country. She underscored the role of IT in economic growth when she spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the 2024 Tech in Ghana conference.
This year's event will feature an expanded schedule, a larger venue, and a broader outreach. British High Commissioner to Ghana called on key stakeholders to push for the growth of IT in Ghana.
It's been going since 2017. The reason that the British High Commission here in Ghana has been supporting it as much as we possibly can is because it is having a huge impact, bringing together all the players for the tech ecosystem, not just in Ghana but beyond as well. It's really showcasing what Ghana can do. And the way that it convenes people means that these brilliant minds are coming together to network, to share ideas, to share knowledge, and they're coming up with fantastic solutions to the problems that the world is facing. They're driving economic growth, they're creating opportunities, they are realizing opportunities, and we want to be a part of that.
As one of the key events marking the start of Ghana's festive season, the two-day conference is expected to attract over 500 attendees, including founders, investors, and stakeholders from the country's growing tech ecosystem. Here is Group Lead Akosia Nobel.
We're here simply to help strengthen, connect, and build the ecosystem. That is our main thing, is to really do what we can to make sure that the ecosystem has the support that it needs, that we can bring people together to collaborate, to build relationships, to gain access. That's really what we're about. So on the surface of it, we're seeing us do that bigger and better. I think mainly through partnerships now. That's something new that we've done this year. We've partnered with companies that have worked in different elements of event management. So
All right, you're watching The Marketplace. We are taking a short break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to The Marketplace. Now, the Crops Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is investing in the harmonization of a standard for the adoption of plant varieties in the sub-region. The researchers observe that many grains and other crops traded between countries in West Africa usually undergo multiple certifications despite being approved in its country of origin. The institute believes a standardized and improved plant variety that conforms with the Variety Protection Act could foster regional agricultural growth whilst ensuring food security. Here's more in this report by Josephine Sego.
The Crops Research Institute organized a 5-day training for experts involved in the development and release of new plant varieties in Ghana in conformity with the Plant Variety Protection Act 2020. Following its implementation in the fourth quarter of 2023, the Ghana Industrial Property Office is conducting workshops to keep actors in the sector abreast of the new act. The new act would ensure crop varieties meet the criteria of distinctness, uniformity, and stability to qualify as improved varieties, consistent across generations, even under changing climatic breeders on DUS standards. Acting Director of the CSIR, Dr. Enes Befi, highlighted the need for a shift from traditional national breeding methods, which have not been effective.
For every crop variety, which is to be affirmed as improved variety, there has to be some attributes that makes it distinct from all other crop varieties. The way that breeding or crop improvement is done is shifting from the traditional national way a bit, and is shifting in the sense that we are now going to what we call harmonization of crop varietal development and release. And by that, it suggests that previously, if we had released varieties in Ghana, crop varieties in Ghana, and those varieties has a market niche or need in another country like say Ghana or Burkina Faso, then it is expected that that crop variety would have also go through the procedure in that country. And more so, the procedure for crop development variety also used to vary from one country to another, which was not happening in our sub-region. So the harmonization is for us to all have a standardized view of doing things as West African.
Plant breeder at the University of Ghana's West Africa Sector for Crop Improvement, Mawulawa Ewiti, emphasized the importance of developing crop varieties that are distinct, uniform, stable, and capable of yielding well across different agroecological zones. She stresses the need for ongoing training for breeders to understand the criteria for releasing crop varieties and calls for increased government investment in agricultural research. She believes that substantial investment in research centers is essential essential to ensure progress in breeding and achieving food security.
Okay, so as a plant breeder, the key things we are always looking for on the field is to ensure that the varieties that we release are distinct, they are uniform, and they are stable. They are stable in the sense that the yield across agroecologies is uniform to a large extent. They are uniform, it's the same. When we are talking about uniformity, we don't want to go to a place where the variety looks like this in one agroecology and it looks like another thing in another agroecology. When you do that, it does not really bring a sense of trust in the system because it's not showing the uniqueness of the varieties that we have released. So it's very important that as breeders we get these kinds of trainings to really understand the parameters that are looked at when we are releasing varieties into the country.
Reporting for Joy News, Josephine Sego.
Hi, welcome back to the marketplace, to Show Business. Today is a Friday, and today on Show Business, we're talking about film production in Africa and sustainability, particularly in the context of climate change. Now, the African film industry has grown exponentially over the years, contributing billions to the continent's economy. However, as this growth continues, questions about its environmental impact and how the industry can adapt to the changing climate are becoming increasingly relevant. Joining us to unpack this is culture journalist, birthday boy, Kenneth Ojidako. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dara, and thanks for the birthday wish.
Well, we'll talk about your birthday in a bit. We want to talk about the climate first and why it is important to tell stories about sustainability and climate change through film productions.
So, Dara, to begin with, the importance or how powerful a film is in terms of the storytelling ecosystem cannot be overemphasized. We've all seen how much change has happened through visual representation of certain narratives. They are very classic films. There are a lot of examples of films that have touched nations in a way that have caused action to be taken to ensure that some certain level of development has been seen over the period because of that one film. And that tells you how powerful film is. And so if you juggle that with the fact that climate issues are very much at the forefront of developmental topics these days, you can see how much those two entities can come together to ensure that people are more educated on that. But unfortunately, that is not the case here in Africa. There's not many stories that have been told by filmmakers and people in the audiovisual industry regarding how much of a devastation is being caused through issues that are affecting the climate. Ghana, for example, there is a huge issue of galamsey that we are even grappling with when it comes to that. There's also the issue of waste and how some of them are landing on our shores, even though we are not, the major causes of some of these, like producers of some of these waste products. We've had brands, amongst others, having the residue of their products come down the shores of Ghana through second-hand clothing and other means. And so these are all issues that ideally should have a place when it comes to the storytelling space, but unfortunately we are not seeing that. And it's not just Ghana, but Africa as a whole. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, and that's a powerful tool, right? Because people are really moved by what they see. And so what are some of the challenges that the film industry faces in trying to address climate change?
The film industry itself has very underlying challenges. One of them is funding. And that is even for regular films that have very mass commercial appeal. They are struggling, or filmmakers and directors are struggling to secure funds to produce such movies. Not to even talk of the fact that these are climate issues that people see as something that's boring. Some people see it as very academic, and some people don't see the connection between what the climate change that's going on has to directly, like that, how much it affects them directly, even though they are, very common evidence of some of these things all around that. And so the difficulty in securing funding to produce such movies in a climate or in the film climate that's already plagued by basic necessities and how difficult it is to assess some of these things like funding. It is a very big issue when it comes to challenges that are, plaguing the
So what innovative ways are filmmakers adopting to overcome some of these challenges you point out?
So what innovations are being adopted include the inculcation of some of these stories in very regular genres. You'd find some people maybe find a way or a loophole in maybe a drama or a certain love series or a certain love show that is being produced locally or by an African. You'd find them find very interesting ways to tell stories that have to do with the climate in there. Usually it's not very, in your face, but there are some of these ways that, because there's money to be made as well, whilst you are trying to fight ensure that there's sustainability in the world. There's also a commercial part of the filming that you're doing. And so because there are these barriers such as funding, when they secure these funds to do very regular dramatic shows, they just find innovative ways to put some message of the climate change and sustainability in there. And some of them are also collaborating with some NGOs that are already doing a lot in the climate space outside the film space, but they are able to have certain negotiations with them and come to a conclusion and are able to maybe strike a balance in between what the organization is doing in the climate space and what the film industry is doing. So these are some of the few ways that are being taken advantage of.
I mean, so what's the way forward in advancing climate storytelling in African cinema?
So from what I just said, collaboration is a very big thing because it is not so much emphasized when it comes to the creative space, because it still sounds like a very far-fetched idea, climate change, sustainability. It sounds like very, very much of a far-fetched idea. So what can be done in the interim is the fact that collaboration is very key. Filmmakers finding very innovative ways to partner climate organizations to do some of these things. Short films, documentaries, things that do not cost like high budget or high ticket ratings are things that can be also looked at. Government can also incentivize filmmakers to go into spaces like this, since it is one thing that is plaguing the country. We know Akufo-Addo has talked about the fact that Ghana has gotten some amounts of money from carbon credits. That was just a few weeks ago. He was speaking at Azerbaijan as part of the COP29. And so these are things that you clearly see that are at the heart of government's activities. But unfortunately, the funding and the direction of the populace is usually not there. And so if some of these collaborations between the filmmakers, governments, NGOs, and also finding ways to dumb down the idea of climate change to very regular audiences.
Yeah, I've got to give credit to our colleague, Erastus Sasaredonko, doing a very great work telling the story about the impact of galamsey on our environment.
Yeah, and those are some of the innovative ways that we are talking about. I mean, there are news media that's taking very, very key steps in amplifying messages in that regard. And so for something like what Erastus Sasaredonko has been doing is very, very laudable, and we are looking forward to more and more people in the audiovisual space taking advantage of that as well.
All right, we have 30 seconds. You want to tell us how you spent your birthday on Tuesday?
No, we'll discuss that on another day.
Should our culture journalists join us for show business? Appreciate it. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching, everyone. There you go. More on our top story. IMF Board to disburse $360 million to Ghana in December after a third review. Read more on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Cloud. Do enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.